My brother Alex always had a way of taking what wasn't his. When we were kids, he'd swipe my toys, insisting he deserved them more. In high school, he emptied my college fund, claiming he needed it for his future. But this time he went too far. He took my entire life savings. All $127,000 I had carefully set aside over 5 years of working double shifts and sacrificing every comfort. I discovered it on a quiet Tuesday morning. My bank account, something I had been monitoring religiously as it inched closer to funding my dream of opening my own business, was empty. Just zeros where my hopes had been stored. At first I thought it was a mistake. Then I saw the transfer record. Every last cent had gone to one destination. Wedding venue deposit, Crystal Lake Manor. My hands shook as I dialed Alex's number. He answered on the third ring, his tone casual, like he hadn't just destroyed 5 years of my life. "Oh, Emma finally noticed," he chuckled. "I was wondering when you'd call." "Alex, that was my entire savings," I said, my voice cracking. "How could you? How did you even get access?" "Mom gave me your account details. Remember when you made her your emergency contact? She thought it was the right thing to do. After all, Jessica and I need a proper wedding venue. You know how her family is, old money and expectations." I felt sick. Our mother, who had always favored Alex, had helped him steal from me. "You need to return it. Now." "Sorry, sis. Non-refundable deposit," he said coldly. "Besides, what were you going to do with it anyway? Open that little cafe you keep talking about? Please. You'll never amount to anything. At least this money is going toward something worthwhile, making sure Jessica's family sees that we Prestons belong in their world." I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, as my brother told me, plainly, that my dreams meant nothing compared to his social climbing ambitions. "The wedding's in 3 weeks, he continued, almost bored. "Don't bother coming if you're going to make a scene. Jessica's family doesn't need to see any unfortunate displays." He hung up. What Alex didn't know, what none of them knew, was that while they were busy underestimating me, I had been quietly building something of my own. That cafe dream? It was just a cover story. 3 years ago, I'd started buying and renovating small event venues. My first was a neglected garden space I purchased for almost nothing because it was in such disrepair. I poured every spare minute into fixing it up, learning the events industry inside and out. That one venue led to another. And another. Under the name Preston Ventures LLC, I kept my identity private. Today, my company owns some of the most sought-after event spaces in the state, including Crystal Lake Manor, the very venue where Alex and Jessica planned their lavish wedding. I opened my laptop and logged into the venue management system. There was Preston.Montgomery wedding. Jessica's father had spared no expense, adding every premium package available. For a moment, I considered canceling on the spot. But no. That would be too easy. They needed to see who they had underestimated. I called my assistant. "Maria, remember that Preston.Montgomery wedding booking for Crystal Lake?" "Of course, Miss Preston. The bride's father has been quite demanding about every detail. I think it's time for a personal inspection of the venue. Schedule it for their final walkthrough next week." "The one where both families will be present?" "Exactly," I said, smiling at the thought of the ownership contract in my desk drawer. "The one listing me as the sole owner of Crystal Lake Manor. It's time for a proper introduction." The following week, while Alex and Jessica filled their days with parties and expensive dinners, I reviewed every detail of their wedding contract. Nearly $200,000 for venue and services alone. Mom called twice, likely to justify helping Alex steal from me. I didn't answer. Let them think I was sulking. In 3 weeks, they'd learn exactly who they'd dismissed. The day of the final walkthrough was bright and clear. I dressed in a tailored suit that cost more than Alex's monthly salary, though he'd never know that. To him, I was still Emma, the sister with silly cafe dreams. As I arrived at Crystal Lake Manor, I watched the Montgomery's fleet of luxury cars roll in. Jessica stepped out in designer clothes worth more than she thought I made in a month. Alex followed, every inch the social climber in his new suit. My parents arrived last, my mother already fawning over Jessica's family. Time to show them who really belonged here. I waited until they were all gathered in the grand entrance hall, Alex boasting about how he'd secured such an exclusive venue. Then I stepped forward, heels clicking on the marble. "Welcome to Crystal Lake Manor, I said, watching every head turn toward me in confusion. I believe it's time we discussed some changes to your contract. Silence. Alex's mouth hung open. Jessica's manicured hand clutched her purse. My mother's voice trembled. Emma, what are you doing here? This is a private event. I smiled, the kind of smile years of business negotiations had honed. I'm well aware, Mother. As the owner of Crystal Lake Manor, I make it a point to personally oversee our most interesting bookings. Jessica's father, Richard Montgomery, stepped forward. He was exactly what you'd expect from old money: tailored suit, steel gray hair, and an air of authority that usually went unchallenged. There must be some mistake, he said. We've been working with Preston Ventures LLC. Precisely. I pulled out my business card, crafted from heavy stock with gold lettering. Emma Preston, CEO and founder, Preston Ventures LLC. We own not just Crystal Lake Manor, I continued, but 7 other luxury venues across the state. The color drained from Alex's face as the implications sank in. He'd stolen my savings to impress these people, never realizing I was already above their world. That's impossible, he stammered. You were saving for a cafe. A cover story, I said simply. I learned early on that people underestimate what they don't see as a threat. Speaking of which, let's discuss the recent unauthorized access to my personal account. Jessica's mother gasped. Alexander, what is she talking about? I opened my tablet, pulling up the banking records. 3 weeks ago, $127,000 was transferred from my personal savings account to Crystal Lake Manor's booking system. The transfer was authorized using credentials stolen from my emergency contact information. It wasn't stealing, my mother interjected, her voice sharp and defensive. Alex needed it for the wedding. You've always been so selfish, Emma. Your brother deserved. Deserved what exactly? I cut her off. The right to steal from me? To dismiss my dreams while using my money to fund his social climbing. Richard Montgomery's face turned an interesting shade of red. Jessica, is this true? Was your wedding venue booked with stolen money? Jessica's perfect composure cracked. Daddy, I didn't know. Alex said he had savings. Oh, he had savings, I said with a cold smile. Wine. I turned to Maria, who had quietly appeared at my side. Please pull up the original contract for the Preston E. Montgomery wedding. She handed me a leather portfolio. I removed the contract Alex and Jessica had signed with such pride. According to Section 7.3, I said, any evidence of fraudulent payment or illegal activity renders this contract null and void. You can't do this. Alex lunged forward, but Jessica's father held him back. Actually, I said evenly, I can, and I should. But I'm willing to offer an alternative arrangement. The room went still. Even the Montgomerys, people accustomed to being the most powerful in any gathering, waited for my next words. Option 1. I cancel the contract, return the stolen funds to my account, and press charges for theft and fraud. Your perfect wedding dissolves and Alex faces potential jail time. My brother's face went from red to white. Our mother started to speak, but I held up my hand. Option 2. You return my money with interest. Let's say an even $150,000. Alex publicly admits to his theft. And you sign a new contract at double the original rate. After all, premium venues come with premium prices. That's extortion. Alex sputtered. No, dear brother. That's business. I handed him a pen. You have 10 minutes to decide. Oh, and we're the only venue in the state that could host an event of this size on your chosen date. Jessica's family has already sent out the invitations, haven't they? The next few minutes were chaos. Jessica's parents huddled in a corner, whispering furiously. My mother tried to approach me, but Maria smoothly stepped between us. Alex stood alone, watching his dreams of social elevation crumble. Finally, Richard Montgomery stepped forward. We'll pay the new rate, he said stiffly. And ensure the borrowed funds are returned immediately. Excellent choice. I produced a new contract. You'll find everything in order. As they signed, I noticed Jessica watching me with a strange mix of fear and fascination. She thought she was marrying into a family of social climbers, only to learn her future sister-in-law was the one holding all the cards. One more thing, I added. Alex has a habit of taking things that don't belong to him. Consider this contract his last chance. Any future attempts to access my accounts or assets will result in immediate legal action. My brother wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. Let him remember this moment before he ever thought about crossing me again. The wedding can proceed as planned, I said, gathering the signed papers. But I suggest you all remember something. Success isn't about who you know or what you take from others. It's about what you build for yourself. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Alex, remember when you said I'd never amount to anything? Next time, check who owns the building before you make assumptions. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. The wedding went ahead, but it was far from the lavish affair they'd envisioned. Several elements were downgraded to cover the increased rate, and the Montgomerys treated Alex and Jessica with notably less warmth. A week later, my mother tried to apologize, claiming she'd only wanted to help her son. I sent my response through a lawyer, a cease and desist letter, along with documentation of exactly how much Alex had taken from me over the years. As for my business, word of the incident spread quickly through high society circles. Apparently, people were impressed by how I'd handled the situation. Bookings doubled, then tripled. The following year I acquired 3 more venues. Sometimes I drive past Crystal Lake Manor at night. In the moonlight, it's breathtaking, its windows glowing softly, hosting other people's dream events. Alex and Jessica's wedding photos still hang in the venue's gallery, alongside hundreds of others. But theirs has a special place, right next to my first business license and the original deed to the property. A reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising so far above those who doubted you that they can never reach you again. The last I heard, Alex was working at one of Jessica's father's companies, a junior position with little chance of advancement. The Montgomerys never quite got over discovering their dream venue had been booked with stolen money. Me. I'm still buying venues, still growing my empire. And now, everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with. No more cover stories. No more hiding my success. Because I've learned the best way to stop people from taking what's yours is to make sure they know exactly how much you're worth.